Hi, everyone. I'm Gwen Callahan. I'm the co-director of Portland Horror Film Festival, and I'm here with the filmmakers from Shorts Block 3 and to talk about their films. And thank you all for being with us today. We have Nathan Crooker from No Filter, Connor Techuk from Love You Mama, Younglu Hu from Welcome. We have Justin Rieger from 7 Minutes in Hell, Alex Magistro from Love You Mama, and the Summers Brothers from I Will Be Back Tomorrow. Hello and welcome, everyone. I'm going to start with Nathan Crooker. Your film No Filter is kind of a warning. What is that? A cautionary tale on using Instagram filters.
True, yeah.
Which is a great concept. Can you talk a little bit about what was the driving force behind your film?
Yeah, I during the pandemic, obviously we were all sort of just online all the time, and I started to see a lot of people starting to use a lot of filters just for fun on Instagram or Facebook or Snapchat or whatever. And then as we sort of came out of it, they continued to use them, in pictures with their families, with their kids, and it became sort of a thing where they started to take on the personality of this filter. And every picture that they posted, whether it be a male or a female, young and old, it was in every photograph. And I could see that people would, kind of chime in about the photos, and they would get very, very upset about it. And I know a lot of people that sort of went to a really dark place because of it. And a couple of people actually it went very, very dark. So just based on that and other things that I was reading about how people, instead of showing pictures of, say, said celebrity in a magazine to go to a person to get plastic surgery, they were taking pictures of themselves from Snapchat, actual filtered pictures of themselves, and bringing it to the doctor and saying, I want you to make me look like this. So it just sort of was it compiled on. And I just was like, it just became to me just something that was really, really insane. And I thought it would make for a great body horror movie. So that's kind of where it came from. Yeah.
Who designed the makeup effects? Because the filter eventually kind of takes, every time you use it, it's sort of a sacrificial. You've got to give up a part of your body in order to fuel this cursed filter.
So yeah, Kenneth Calhoun came up with it. We kind of worked together for about a month and a half before the movie. He would come over on the weekends, and we sort of went through a bunch of different types of practical effects because it's of what we wanted to use. We started using the psoriasis cream for when it gets to the second version of her and the skin starts to sort of coagulate together and get really tight and kind of sickly, which, we put that on Kelly. It took us about 20 minutes to put it on her, 30 minutes to put it on, but it took 2.5 hours to get it off. There was a lot of issues with the practical effects with her because her skin was so delicate. She doesn't wear makeup at all, and she never has. So anything it's kind of like a baby's skin. So we had to be really, really careful. But Kenneth went through, I think, 5 or 6 different types of practical effects that we were putting on. And I have pictures of myself and all this stuff, and it was like time, we worked on what would be the best and also what would be the least time consuming, because we only had 3 days to shoot the movie. So he came up with it all. We tested it all on me. And then we brought Kelly in and did a couple of small tests with her. But she was a real trooper because she spent a lot of time in hair and makeup with those effects. Yeah.
Some of them are pretty gnarly.
The last one's pretty gnarly. The last one, she actually, when she's trying to get out of Instagram, if you want to call it, she smashes her face up against this. We had a faux plastic wall, and it ripped the whole prosthetic off her face.
Oh, no.
And then there was no take 3. That was it. Because it was 1 o'clock in the morning, and we were like, all right, it's a wrap. It's done.
Yeah. Wow. I'm always interested in how you handle the real life versus the phone image, like going back and forth between what you see on the phone and then what you see in real life.
So yeah, we actually did build a filter for Kelly. I had a friend of mine We went through about, I'd say like 20 different iterations of that filter, because you obviously, you can build it in Snapchat. And I would send it to Kelly, she'd try it on, and then we would keep working on it. Like her forehead needs to be smaller, bring her eyes in, make her nose smaller. We really just pretty much made her look completely different with that filter. But even up until I'd say 2 hours before we were shooting, I was on the phone with him, and I looked at, I said, make her eyes closer together and, make her nose smaller. And he would upload it. And within a couple of seconds, it would lock into Snapchat, and I'd say, all right, try it again. And we were shooting. And so we were using that. And then we were adding actual makeup to her. So it sort of looked like it was all coming from the filter itself. There was a small amount of makeup that he did use in the filter, but the most of it was just to change her physical appearance. And then we had our, amazing makeup artist kind of come in and add the the lipstick and the eyeliner and things like that. But it took a while, because those filters aren't as, it's very specific to her. So if anybody else was to use it, they would not look good at all. So, yeah.
Interesting.
But we had to shoot all that stuff separately. We shot everything with the filter on one day, and then I had to go back and look at it. And then when we shot her in her normal world, not using it, we had to remember where she was and the lighting. So it was, there was it was pretty meticulous as to making sure we could get it done and make it seamless. So when you looked at it, when it cut back and forth, it made sense with the lighting, with her face, angles and things like that. So there was a lot of pre-planning for all that, which it worked out really well. Yeah.
Wow. Yeah, because your lighting scheme is pretty designed. Like, it's not just like she's got that neon thing in the background and it's casting light around. Did that complicate things for you when you were shooting with the filter?
It complicated stuff in the sense that we started out shooting on an Alexa Mini with these Zeiss primes, and because that camera, its base ISO is like 800, it was too slow, and it became like a nightmare to shoot with. So we rented this top of the line camera, and then I was talking to my DP, and I was like, hey, do you have that A7S III in the car? He's like, it's an SLR camera. He's like, yeah. I said, let's ditch this whole thing, put that DSLR on a gimbal, and let's just keep shooting. So the light, obviously the lights look beautiful in the movie, but because they don't give off, they don't give off enough light, so to speak, just to, make it easy. We had to resort to a different camera, or we would have had to bring in more light. It would have taken a longer time to set it up. But at the same time, I had then went at the end, and because it is a little bit noisy, no matter what you use, and I wanted it to feel like an Instagram filter, I went in and denoised everything, like pulled every ounce of noise out of the movie. So when you watch it, even on like in the cinema, there is no noise in it. It's weird. It's super, super sharp in a like kind of in a strange way, just sort of like the way it would look if you were to post a picture on Instagram. So it was all intentional. Yeah.
Okay. Nice. Nicely done. Yeah, strong horror elements and like very relevant to what I feel like every other reel that we see now is like, this is me, and this is the filter, and this is not my face, and that's just become a thing now.
I love that they have a no filter now that I see.
Yeah.
So yeah. And the idea is to like do the feature and then have that be part of the the marketing strategy.
Yeah. So no filters were used in the making of this film.
Yeah, exactly.
All right, thank you. I'm gonna hop over to Connor and Alex, and just congratulations on your US premiere of Love You Mama. It's a very powerful film, and I think it touched a lot of people really deeply. The response when we showed it in the theater was great. Just amazing response from people. I think everyone can relate to it on multiple levels. But can you talk a little bit about the story and how that, there's the story that you see on screen, but then there's also the other implied stories of like the time that we're, this pandemic time that we're living in.
Yeah, so this story stems from a really personal story of mine. I've had this idea since before the pandemic, and it's funny because every time people ask me about it, they're like, "This has got to be related to COVID, right?" And it's totally not, and it's not intentionally meant to be related to COVID, but kind of works very well in the world that we're living in right now. But yeah, I mean, it's a very personal thing for me, and it was just my exploration of grief and trauma and how scary it is that your brain can tell you to do things that you think are entirely rational, and anyone else is like, that's not okay, you shouldn't do that. So it was therapeutic and cathartic to write it. I actually wrote it when I'm working in Canada right now. We were sent home during the height of COVID, and I wrote it when I was home quarantining. So maybe it's attached in that way. But when we got back up to Canada, I showed it to Connor, and Connor's like, let's make this. So yeah, it was a great experience and fun to put on screen.
Yeah, it's heavy. I mean, I think even though that you didn't have, you know, the pandemic as an influence in the story, I think it feels like, because we've all now gone through the pandemic, it's like much more relatable. Like we can all relate to it on a very personal level,
Yeah.
and like find elements in that, like the whole just get the groceries delivered, like don't
Yeah.
go outside.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's interesting because the production of it was definitely serviced and helped by the pandemic, because it is all about isolation. You have all of these elements where she's trapped in the house, and from a production level, like when I said, yeah, let's make this movie, that helped us beyond belief.
Mm. Can you tell us a little bit about how you cast this film and how you found your actors? Because we've seen, we know Madeline Arthur from Color Out of Space, that we played at the HBO Festival, and she's just she's a powerhouse performer.
Yeah.
The mom we know from Grey's Anatomy. Like,
Yeah. Yeah, so I am lucky enough to work on shows that Samantha Sloyan and Matt Bedell both work on. I worked on them with Midnight Mass, and they were in Midnight Club, and we're currently working on them on another show with them. So I'm friendly with them, and this was on a show where they weren't working round the clock, and I was like, well, I have these really great actors, and I'm scared to ask them, but I'll ask them because they're not really doing a whole lot right now. So I asked Sam first. I made her like go for a walk with me, and I was like, I have the short, no pressure if you don't want to do it. It's like going to be a 3-day thing. We could get you out in 2 if you don't even want to do the 3 days. And she read the script and she loved it, and she was in. Matt was kind of the same situation. I was like, you know, you were just fully in blood for the entirety of Midnight Mass, and I'm sorry, but you're going to have to be in blood again. And he's like, that's totally fine. And he was only there for a day, so we got him in and out really quickly. And then Madeline was kind of a connection through the DP that I work with, who had worked with her previously, and she just annihilated that role. Like, she came in, she was so excited about it. She was like, I just, can I go to 11 here? Like, can I slam the table? That was a glass table. We had to like reinforce it to make sure she didn't shove her hand through the table. But she's just, even in those quiet moments, is so expressive and just is able to translate any emotion without even moving. Like, it's unreal. But her and Sam just did, I didn't really have to direct them. But they did an incredible job, and I'm very, very grateful that they said yes, and they were like, this is great, we love to do this, it's just a fun weekend to play. So yeah.
Nice. And you mentioned you worked on Midnight Mass, and there's a Mike Flanagan connection in this film as well.
Yes. So Mike edited the film. But I work with Mike. I'm his assistant, and for like 3 years now. And he was thrilled that I was making the short and that I was directing. And we kind of finished the short, and we had an editor lined up that didn't quite work out, and it was taking too long. And I kind of mentioned it to him, and he's like, let me cut it. And I was like, no, that's dumb. You're not going to do that. You definitely don't want to do that. And it'll probably never be done because you're working so much. And he kept saying, let me do it. Let me do it. And I was like, fine. Everybody's like, you're an idiot. Let him do it. So he we let him do it, and he cut it in a day. And it was basically the final cut of what the movie is. It's stupid. Like, he's stupid talented, but yeah, and it was great. It was this really cool role reversal of me being like, I don't like that. Can you do that? Can you flip that there? But yeah, he did an incredible job.
Nice. The way that the story is constructed with the flashbacks and then back in real time is really, really nicely done.
Thank you.
And it just really brings you on that emotional arc of the story. For for Madeline's character, the just the emotion and like the not being able to move on from her father's death and feeling like it's her fault. Do you feel like the guilt is the horror, and how that comes through with the mother's relationship with the daughter?
Yeah, I do. Guilt is this thing that treats everyone differently. I mean, it's just, for her, it's this irrational thing that stemmed from this accident that happened. And I think that the trauma that she associates with it is because it was such a, he's there 1 second, gone the next. There was no preparation for anything. Her whole world is completely ripped out from underneath her. And she feels guilty because he was going out to get something for her. And that guilt just feeds into this need to protect everything around her, and need to protect her mom, because now her mom is all that she has left. And that's where that, what I was saying earlier, of like the scariness of how your brain can take something entirely irrational and make it rational to you, to the point where you're doing horrible things to the people that you love, but you think that you're protecting them, is kind of the crux of this film. And it's just how your mind can deceive you in that way when it's trying to protect you. It's a win and a lose situation.
Yeah, interesting, really excuse me, really powerful. Yeah, that I'm protecting you, but it's not ethical. It's not in your best
She
interest.
thinks she's doing the
My-
right thing.
My best interest.
Yeah.
Really interesting. Well, thank you so much. Yeah, it was had a powerful impact, and yeah, it was great.
Thank you. Thanks.
I'm gonna go over to Younglu. Your film Welcome is this wonderful animated film about a girl who's invited into a store by the window mannequins. And can you talk a little bit about the design of the mannequins? Because it is so creepy that they don't have eyes. Like, they never open their eyes.
Yeah, so I designed the mannequin characters, and we actually the story we have changed it a lot. Like, in the beginning, it should be a girl who is a thief and try to get into a mission to steal a necklace. And however, our instructor said we encourage us to change our story, so we changed it to what it looks like now. And my partner, Siadu, who sadly cannot come today, she is very into fashion, and so we changed the setting into an antique clothes store. And on that time, I think both of us is very into like creepy, eerie elements. And we actually designed a lot of monster furniture for our first version of story. And this time, because we deleted all of them, and she said we still need something like looks more eerie. And I was thinking about, like, since it's a clothes store, like, why don't we make some mannequin? And mannequin, we actually talked about we like argue with our instructor a lot about, well, the mannequin have eyes. I was very like instead about like they are not going to have eyes, because I think that's the most important part of they never open their eyes and make them really not human. Yeah.
Yeah. Oh, I forgot to mention that you're a student, a film student. And
yeah, I just graduated.
Student project. Okay.
Yeah.
So this is part of your student work, which is just wonderful. Yeah, when we first saw this film and the mannequins start singing and around, and we're like, oh, realizing that they don't have eyes, and just my first, I think I said out loud, "Oh, that's not right." So right away, it's very unsettling, which is like a very nice thing for a horror animation. So you had to design every element in the film. Were you able to model things on real world objects, or did you have to just create them in the animated space?
We only make them in the animated space. So we use Maya. We basically build everything with Maya. And also my partner also designed something. And yeah, I designed most part of the setting and the characters. But she also, that like I said, she is very into fashion, so she do a lot of work on texture. Yeah, and also for the fabric, and she takes a lot of work to make them look right and looks beautiful. Yeah.
Nice. And how tell us about the song, because it's basically a musical.
Yeah, we are very lucky. Like when we were thinking about changing the story, and we luckily like we have some connection with our alumni, and he is like a very talented composer, and we talk about our ideas about the story, and he is very into it. He basically so his name is Kevin Timmer, and he makes the most part of our songs. Yeah.
Nice. It's really this mashup of like Disney meets like horror movie, and it's just delicious. I love it.
Thank you.
So thank you so much. I'm gonna hop over to Justin Rieger with 7 Minutes in Heaven.
Hell.
I'm sorry, 7 Minutes in Hell. Keep thinking, 7 Minutes in Hell. Yes, not heaven.
It's the fun twist.
This film is so great. It's like it starts out as like your typical teen movie with kids breaking into the house and everything, and just kind of being rowdy teenagers, and then it takes a very, very dark left turn when they're in the closet. Can you talk a little bit about the character of Olivia and James, and how did you develop those two characters, because they kind of fit the typical teen romance story, but then they also kind of subvert it.
Yeah. Originally, when we were, when I say we, my co-director and co-writer, Shane Spiegel, he can't be here today, but originally when we were writing it, Olivia was, we wanted to make like the idea of like, okay, there's like, she's going to have some aspects of like a final girl, but like, really we just wanted to we knew like we were doing a story about like kind of like doppelgangers and monsters that change shape, and we wanted a girl who was or to write a girl that was kind of like in that time of her life in high school where you don't exactly know who you are, but like who you want to pretend to be. And so she goes in there with her friends and thinking there's this guy she likes, and then the closet, quickly finding out that he's not exactly the great guy he's pretended to be, and realizing that the real her doesn't like this. Yeah, that's kind of where we were coming from, and then we wanted to put a scary monster in there.
Okay.
That kind of a
The scary monster is scary. That performer, the witch or the doppelganger, the shape-shifting monster was hella creepy. That moment where they're kind of almost face to face, and it seems like she's like smelling her, or she's just kind of wrinkling her nose and like making these weird faces, is just fantastic. How did you cast for that role?
We actually our casting director, Rachel, she is like amazing, and she brought in a few people, and right away though we knew who the monster was going to be. She came in, and like we had her do basically the mimic scene. But you know, she's mimicking, at that point she's mimicking no one. She's just like doing the scene like, you know, to a camera recording. And like she was able to jump right into character and immediately get like this kind of feeling where we wanted to be mimicking, but also like, you know, we were telling her like, imagine like your bones are kind of breaking a little bit inside you to start reshaping your face. And she was able to pick up on that really, really well.
Nice. It's a fun sort of moment when they're in the closet and they come out of the closet, and it's sort of like the alternate dimension, I guess. And this idea of the closet as a sort of a transportive moment. Do you have a thing about closets?
I mean, yeah, I was scared of closets as a kid. And I did have a thing where I was like, you know, I couldn't go to sleep unless the closet door was fully closed. I mean, I think that, you know, there's a reason we always think there's like a monster in the closet. It's because it's like, you know, wherever there's like a big dark corner, that's where we feel like, you know, bad things can happen. And we felt like it would be, you know, we felt like it would be fun to see the closet as kind of this, you know, portal to another world. And you know, it was like we wanted to do a monster attacking in the closet. We had this idea for it. You know, we obviously liked our name, and then having it go into like actually what like our version of the house of hell would be was really fun and interesting for us to explore.
Nice. I also like enjoyed the moment when she finds James in the shower and he's like just cowering, has just all of his coolness has been stripped away. Was there just like a lot of fake blood and like there's some effects makeup on your actor? Can you talk about that a little bit?
Yeah, our makeup artist Krista is also very talented. And she got you know, him to be covered in blood and a couple chunks, if you could see, are like ripped out from his neck. We like the idea of the monster attacking you, like not just like attacking you, but like kind of consuming you a little bit. And so, you know, having him go in there covered in blood and, you know, and cut up, and yeah, we thought it'd be fun for him to be, you know, obviously he is a coward in a few times. And seeing him like, you know, really shocked, and the difference between his reaction and Olivia's reaction was what we were going for. But yeah, there's a lot of blood on set. You know, there's really fun things about making horror shorts, is just covering people in blood. You know, having scratch marks. Like that's the time of stuff where you're like, this is fun. We're doing fun stuff. We're having a good time.
I mean, what's the point of making a horror movie if you can't cover somebody in blood?
Yeah, it's the best part. It makes you feel like you're a kid again.
What was it like working with were they teenagers or like 20-somethings, the kids?
Yeah, they were in their young 20s, playing teens. We've worked with a lot of like teens and kids before. We've done most of our stuff came from the kids side, so we've done like a lot of like some Nickelodeon stuff and some you know, Peacock Kids and DreamWorks TV, like a lot of this like digital side where we were working with young actors and doing comedy. So so when we wanted to do a horror short and kind of veer into a different direction, we still wanted to work with, you know, younger talent and still kind of tell those stories. Because there's a lot of, you know, there's a lot of horror, especially when you're younger, because you still haven't really figured out the world yet. So, you know, everything's pretty much unknown. And that's where all the horror is coming from.
Nice. Well, thank you so much. It's a thrilling ride. 7 Minutes in Hell is like, I love the pacing of it. And oh yeah, there's that connection with Connor said he had worked on a puppet show for Nickelodeon as well. Or I'm sorry, Chris.
Yeah, our other producer Chris has a Nickelodeon guy with some puppets.
Oh, Chris.
Yeah.
Yes. He was in the live Q&A. I'm sorry, like my worlds, my brain is like live on the streaming show are colliding. So yeah, he had worked on a puppet show. Is that how you met each other? Through Nickelodeon or?
No, I worked with Chris on a CBS show, and then Alex and I have been working with the same people for the last 3.5 years, and so I thought it would be a great pairing for them to meet each other, and it worked out great. It was actually a perfect storm of people meeting one another to allow for our film at least to be made.
Oh, fun. Wow. Oh, I'm always amazed at like how many of you guys all already know each other and like use the same editors and same colorists and effects people, and like we're like, wow, the horror community is just like really tight. Like it's not as big because you know we see hundreds of short films, and it's always surprising to us like how many of them are worked on like by the same, you know, like, oh yeah, I worked on his film, or I worked on his film. So anyways, Justin, thank you so much. 7 Minutes of Hell, again, it's a fun ride, very fun ride.
Thank you.
Summers Brothers with I Will Be Back Tomorrow. Interestingly, I feel like there's a theme this year with Witch's Revenge or something, because there's there's got to be 5 or 6 films this year where there's some kind of witch coming out of a closet or coming out of a trunk or making some kind of appearance to wreak havoc on people's worlds. With I'll Be Back Tomorrow, it's this fun collision of like a dream and reality. Is that something you guys have experienced in your own lives?
I don't think I've experienced any ghost witches, but I do think everybody should look out for them. They're kind of tricky. I think that, you know, the collision of dreams and reality is something we're always interested in our movies. Sort of, you think reality is one thing and then it ends up being something else.
I think, yeah, movies are really such a dream already. That idea of playing with that and the audience, like you're already in the dream state and the characters in the dream state, something that always kind of interests us.
Okay. And the story itself with this house and the realtor and the couple, tell me kind of how you started with that, or how you developed that.
Well, actually, it was almost more logistical than creative. We had a friend of a friend that was going out of town, and we said, "Hey, can we use your house to film something?" And we'd always had that seed of the idea with the story of the witch that gets told. That had been told to us years ago when we were kids, and it was told as an absolute truth. So we took it as one, and then we just kind of built the rest of it around it.
Completely inappropriate that anyone would tell us that story as kids, but yeah.
Oh my gosh. I mean, it has the ring of like urban legend or something like that.
Yeah, exactly. That's what it felt like to us. It was just, you know, one of our friends' moms told us that story about her neighbor, and we just never forgot that story. So that was kind of where that came from. And then, as Russ said, we kind of had this idea of what if someone told you that story and then you started to believe, oh, that might be true. And I think that's kind of where it went from there.
Okay. And then that brings up the question of like manifestation too, right? Like the haunted houses being a manifestation of people's belief that it's haunted versus it actually being haunted.
Yeah, I think like, for us, it's small, but it's in there is the idea that the wife wasn't interested in the house, and that the husband had not been completely honest with her about the background of the house. And so I think there's always that idea of once you kind of kick open the door for bad stuff, it finds its way in. Usually not in the way you expected.
Like a ghost witch.
Yeah, like ghost witches.
I like the use of your color grading from the bedroom to the downstairs. Can you talk a little bit about that?
So like from the bedroom to like as opposed to the sort of darkness of the living room kind of thing.
Yeah, because there's this warm color versus the cool color.
Yeah, so I think that thank you for noticing that. So I think that for us when we were shooting it, I think the idea of the bedroom should feel warm and safe. You know, that you're just there and you're there that's where you go to bed. That's where you're unconscious. You feel safe. And then when you get into the house, everything feels a little weirder. It's darker. It's a different color. It's harder to see. The geography of the house is sort of meant to sort of be a little odd. Why is this house set up this way? So all those things kind of played into the idea of, now you're out. Now you're going to see if something is real that you've only dreamed.
And were your actors people you've worked with before as well? Or was this kind of hey,
actually
my movie.
we worked with we worked with both of them on two other of our previous shorts, and we were really excited to work with both of them again.
Yeah, Katie had worked with us on a previous short that actually played Portland, called Couples Night, and she was in that. And she's as all actors do, that she was like, "You got anything else? You got anything else you're going to be in?" And we said, "Yeah, we'd love to." We just hadn't found something for her, and that was one where, like as we said, that the location became available. And we said, "We're gonna do this real fast." She's like, "Yeah, man." And then Ryan, we had worked with on our short before this one, and he had just had a baby, so we were really lucky to get him even for the 2 days we got him to shoot it.
Oh my gosh.
So they were great. They were all in.
Nice.
And real patient with us too.
They had nice chemistry. It was good.
Oh yeah. That was in their audition. We auditioned them together, and they were the one that they seemed like a real couple. Okay. They seemed like people who would be together.
Nice. Is this the kind of we're given kind of this quiet moment, and there's this sound design throughout the film that just has this feeling of sort of like a quiet, spooky feeling without being too overt. Is that something that you were consciously trying to construct, or was that something that just kind of happened?
I probably a little bit of both. Hopefully more even unconscious than conscious. But I think it was very important to us that it felt like it does when you wake up at night. That was even in the visuals and the sound design of what it's actually like to feel like there's something in your house. And so, yeah, I think we've all kind of had that experience. Suddenly the house seems almost abnormally quiet than it normally does.
Yeah, I think there was that, and we wanted you to feel the transition between when she's telling the dream and when, it bounces between those two, that kind of weird hypnotic feel. So you immediately know you're in a dream state. So yeah, as with all things in the movie, you really hope that all your intentions are in there. We go for that, and then you hope that it kind of lives in the movie.
Nice. Well, it's just like such a nice tidy package of just boom. It's it kind of strings you along. You hear this urban legend, and then it's fakes you out with the dog, and then oh my god, for shoulder.
Yeah, we really wanted that kind of abrupt.
Really oh my god, when they saw that.
Oh, good, it worked. Okay, yeah, awesome. Yeah, we really wanted that abrupt ending. Just that it's so fast, and we spent a long time trying to figure out what it would be, and just I feel like just you get the sense of it, and then the movie's over. So that was always what we were going for, was just kind of this quick. You feel like that it feels inappropriate. You don't even have it almost doesn't feel, it almost is so fast. It's almost a post jump scare. You by the time you realize it's happening, it's over. So that was kind of, we were going for that, just like that super fast, oh wow, what just happened? And then yeah, that was it. And we like shorts that are short, you know, we just wanted it to feel like a quick ghost story, and that's it, you know. That was kind of what we were hoping for.
Nice. Yeah, I liked that it wasn't like a brrr, like a stinger.
Don't get me wrong, we tried that too.
Yeah,
It didn't work.
Well, awesome. Well, thank you all so much. Summers Brothers, Alex and Connor, Justin, Younglu, and Nathan. Thank you so much for making these wonderful films and then sharing with us so that we can bring them to our audience, and taking the time out to talk with me tonight. And we really hope we see more from you in the future. Please let us know if you've got films that you think would be great for Portland Horror Film Festival in the future, and stay in touch. And
Thank you, Gwen.
speaking of staying in touch,
thank you for having us.
You guys.
yeah.
Yeah.
Thanks, Gwen.
Speaking of staying in touch, please tell our audience where they can find more of your work online. I'm going to start with Nathan.
You can find me on Instagram at The Crooker, just the and my last name, Crooker. And then you can look at ghostgangproductions.com, which has a lot of the shorts and features that I've done.
And Connor, how about you?
You can find us on Instagram at Basement Widow if you want to follow our film festival circuit with this. And we have a website that links out there as well.
Cool. Younglu, where can people find you and learn more about your future animation and also about Welcome?
You can find more about like the extension of the Welcome story, and some production we make on yangluhe.com, which is just my name, and at .com. And if you want to find my Instagram, is just yanglu_he, and I do have some more pre-production of some extension story of the Welcomes I was making right now.
Oh, great. Wonderful. And Justin.
You can go to our Instagram at 7 Mins in Hell. Yeah, from there you can find a bunch of stills on our website and see a trailer.
Cool. Summers Brothers.
You can follow us and our adventures on Instagram at It's the Summers Brothers, like ITSTHE. The Summers Brothers. Same with our Twitter is at Brothers Summers, and our website is summersbrothers.net. So you can check out all our stuff there.
Cool. Thank you guys so much. That concludes our Q&A, and I wish you all the best in the future and with your films as they continue the festival circuit. And again, thank you for joining us tonight.